All right. Hello, everyone out. Okay, no, I'm gonna redo that. That was really stupid.
Jesus Christ, Jordan, come
I
on.
know I'm
Man.
fucking this up, man. So, all right, give me a second. I got it. Hey, everyone out there, what's going on? Happy Sunday to you. Presuming that you're listening to this on Sunday, and presuming that I actually uploaded this on Sunday. Only time will tell on that one. But hello, welcome to Screen Speak. This is the podcast that's all about movies, life, and oh so much more. I'm joined once again by the spectacular Adam Wall. He is
Jordan,
back.
it's good to see you, man. On the Lord's Day.
It is, yes. The Lord's Day. I mean, I think talking Spider-Man on that day. That's what he would have wanted,
I
or
on
she.
or
You
she,
ever feel
yeah.
weird about that? Like people always say that about God. They're just like, oh, that's what the Lord is. He is all powerful. I'm like, why are we assuming it's a dude or a
I f-
woman or anything?
yeah. I feel like assuming it as a human figure is the only thing that like us humans have to go off of. Like assuming that it's like a giraffe or assuming that it's like a three-headed alien monster. Like I feel like God is not supposed to really have a physical form, or at least in Christianity it isn't. I guess I don't know too much
Yeah,
about other religions, but
there's a
I
lot
guess we
out
need
there.
some semblance of like this is God, guys, so you can show it to kids and they can like sort of understand what's going on. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
is actually Spider-Man. That's who God is.
yeah. That's who it is. It's Peter Parker. Yeah,
Peter
that'd
Parker.
be. His real secret. That's what his real secret identity is. It's Spider-Man is the cover up for the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Adam, you've actually this has been your idea actually for a while to talk about Spider-Man and a couple of Spider-Man movies. We are actually talking Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 on this as opposed to just one. But what made you want to talk about this movie with me or the series of movies?
So I've just had kind of a I've had a weird connection to these movies in the past, and also I think it's I don't know. There's a lot that goes into these movies, and there's honestly a lot that I could talk about with them. So I'm glad you want to do these movies with me, Jordan, because like there's a lot of interesting things going on. They're just really fun movies too to talk about because they're very in their own realm of things when it comes to superhero movies specifically. No, yeah, I mean I love these movies. The Spider-Man movies are fantastic, and I've like grown up watching them as a kid, and I don't know. I feel like there's also a lot of like different ways we could talk about how the superhero movie has kind of adapted over time,
For sure.
how people see superhero movies differently, how the characters are built differently, and all those different things. There's a lot of things I want to talk about with this movie. So
Oh,
that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. I haven't, so I've saw Spider-Man 2 like a month ago probably, and that's
mm,
kind of also why I like text you after I saw the movie. I'm like, dang, I forgot how good these movies are. I need to text Jordan. I want to talk about these. So I watched
good.
Spider-Man 2 like a month ago, and then I watched Spider-Man 1 today because I wanted to like refresh a little bit about the movie. I
Mm,
haven't seen Spider-Man 3 in a while, but I did some like research and remember the plot and everything like that. Spider-Man 3 was already kind of a haze, and we'll go into a little bit more maybe, but so that's my background, but I don't know.
oh,
What's your take on the Spider-Man movies, Jordan? What's your
well,
initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, for start, the last time that I talked about Spider-Man on ScreenSpeak was actually recently. If you go back, just I think maybe one or two episodes ago, I had my buddy Jonathan on from New Orleans, the Louisiana area, and he's a big MCU guy, and he wanted to talk Spider-Man No Way Home and some of the Marvel stuff. So obviously, most recently, that's why I bring it up because that iteration of Spider-Man is what I am, familiar with right now. But I mean, I definitely grew up on the ones that we're talking about today. I really do think if I go back into like my earliest movie memories specific to like superhero films, pretty certain that Spider-Man 1 was like the first superhero movie I can recall seeing on the big screen, I think. I mean, it's possible I maybe saw like maybe one of the Tim Burton Batman movies when I was like an infant or
Yeah.
something, but yeah, Spider-Man was my first like real exposure to big screen superhero adaptations. And anyways, to answer your question just simply, I love them. I mean, Spider-Man 1 is amazing. Spider-Man 2 does one of the rare things where it's like a sequel is arguably better than the original. It
Yep.
improves upon the first one a lot. And then the third one we'll get to because actually, I think, become more of an interesting movie over the years because of all the memes and different things that have been made out of it. But the third one definitely has its problems, but it's also not without certain elements that are correct. But I still think the third one's a letdown. But the first two are fantastic.
I was when I was watching the first one again today. That was one of the funniest things I noticed was like how many memes have come from the first Star Wars movie, or not
Oh,
Star, geez, the
Spider-Man.
first Spider-Man movie. Oh my gosh, dude! Like, there's just like one every single scene where it's like either it's like he's taking the glasses off or putting them back on again, or
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a scientist myself, but just like there's so many different memes that have come out of that movie, and I think that kind of like it comes from the fact that that movie just has so much charm to it, and we'll go into kind of just like the general theme of the movies, or just the general vibe of how they're presented in a comedic sense, in
Yeah.
a character sense, and all these different ways where they don't take themselves seriously at all, and they do it in a way that feels like cheesy almost, but it's so funny to like watch them again now and like kind of like see that cheesiness, because it's something I feel like you don't really see very much in today's movies as much, or you don't see very much in today's movies, and I don't know. It's got a special place in my heart, man. The first I okay, so the we probably have a different experience honestly with watching the Spider-Man movies, because
Yeah.
I'm a bit younger than you. So the first movie came out when I was 3. So
Oh God.
I
Wow.
didn't see yeah, so I didn't see the first movie until I think I have a very interesting experience with seeing the first movie, because I think I was 7 or 8, and I was a sheltered child. Like, my parents did not show me violence. They did not show me like scary movies or anything like that. And I remember my grandma was babysitting me one night. And she was just, I mean, she was like an old woman, and she didn't give a shit about anything. She was the best. I loved her so much. And she was like, the kid will like these kids will like Spider-Man. So she puts on Spider-Man for us, and I specifically like vividly remember the graveyard scene in the first movie, and it's just
Yeah.
like, I mean, just how honestly the first movie is pretty gory, and like it's just burned in my head, that movie, kind of because of how scared I was after watching it. Like, I didn't sleep for like 2 days or something, but
That's
so I
wild.
had it was an interesting first experience with the Spider-Man movie, but I don't know. I watched them when I was a little bit older, could understand a little bit more what was going on, and I don't know. I love the movies today, even though that graveyard scene is burned in my head.
I don't think Spider-Man, the first one, ever had like an effect like that on me. I can certainly say there have been certain movies that, even if they're not like a horror movie per se, like certain scenes, if you see them at a younger age, they kind of bother you a little bit because like there's still elements of it.
Yeah,
The graveyard scene, I mean, in particular, I mean, that last fight, it is for a PG-13 even. It's like, it's pretty brutal. Like, they're getting, clean punches across the face. There's blood flying.
yeah.
There's debris. Like, it's dirty. I really, really appreciate that. I also know that, at least for the first two Spider-Man movies, I also like the video games that came with them.
Oh,
Spider-Man. Once we get to Spider-Man 2, I can talk about delivering pizzas in Manhattan, because that was always a good time on the GameCube and PlayStation. Well, okay, so here's what I think we should do, because this is the first time actually on Screen Speak that I'm talking about three movies as opposed to just one. So let's just start
Mhm.
with the OG, with the number one, Spider-Man
Okay.
1, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So Spider-Man 1 comes out into theaters. I think, even at the younger age, and we both have said that we were young, respectively, when we watched it. But
Mhm.
I definitely think it set the bar, or at least a new bar for superhero movies, because there had been ones that had preceded it, but not quite in that real summer blockbuster, like make piles of cash way like
Yeah.
Spider-Man did. And I just think
Yeah.
that Spider-Man got a lot right. What about the first one kind of stands out to you?
Before we get to what stands out to me, I listened to some more research I did before I came on this podcast. Is I listened to the No Way Home podcast that you and Jonathan did.
Right.
I didn't finish it. I only got like 50 minutes in because we had to do this, but I thought it was very interesting to hear your guys' take on like how Spider-Man kind of created superhero movies, and how it like really
Yeah.
influenced, especially your guys' perspectives into when you came of age and started getting interested in movies. Spider-Man was the superhero movie that came out. And it's interesting listening to that because, like, for me, that was Iron Man. Like, Iron Man was the movie when
Yeah.
I turned 12 or 13. That was the movie I'm like, this is what a superhero movie is. I feel like you guys have a very different perspective of it, where you see something like you came into knowing superhero movies with something like Spider-Man, and that
Sure.
kind of evolved into what Marvel is and what Iron Man did differently, and all
Yeah.
those different things. I don't know. I think it's very interesting. But you're right that I think the first Spider-Man movie did a lot right in being able to be enjoyed by everyone. Everyone, I think,
Yeah.
loves this movie in their own sort of way, and they see the charm in it. But also, like, having a very distinct elements of itself to it. I don't know. It does a good job of being a weird movie, but at the same time, everyone likes it. You know. So
I think there's actually a lot of elements of the movie that are grounded, and I think that
mm,
is important because other movies beforehand, I mean, like there have been like Batman and Superman stuff. Like there was always some, I would say, more over the top sense. Even the world itself, like was like like weirdly colorful, or there'd be like real big characters in it. So you never really fully bought into it. And I do feel that Sam Raimi set the tone in the first one that. Nah, like yeah, I mean, there is a guy that's like flying around buildings with the web and stuff like that, but it's a very believable story and a relatable one too. I mean, I think Peter Parker as a character, his story is relatable because he's an outcast, so to speak. He's got kind of a troubled home life, and that he doesn't have like his father and his mother, so he's like estranged in a way, and so there's a lot of things I think on that work. But no, so for the first one, okay, I'm gonna kind of bullet point the things I feel that worked in the first
okay,
one, and I'll talk about the things that didn't, because not every movie's perfect, and
that's
Spider-Man's
true. Yeah,
certainly no exception.
that's true. Yeah,
Um, First off, Tobey Maguire, I really liked his performance. Now, I can't say I'm someone that like ate up the comics and was like, well, he's not as like smart alecky and blah 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 blah. But I think I just go off of an actor, and I felt like he really humanized Peter Parker and had emotion when it mattered. I also hate like when he talked about the memes and whatnot. It bothers me that the Uncle Ben crying scene has become a meme. Because
yeah.
like dude, like
It's,
that scene, I'm not kidding. Like that scene when I first saw it, like I felt it that first time. Like I genuinely got emotional. And then Cliff Robertson, that's the actor that plays Uncle Ben.
yeah,
Like when he's down there and he's got the tears in his eyes, like you can tell like he's trying to like tell Peter like he's sorry for the fight in the car and all that. I'm like, oh
yeah. No, yeah,
dude.
it was so hard too because like the last thing that Peter said to him, he was just telling him off in like a teenager way. You're just like, oh God, dude, this
Yeah,
hurts. Yeah, no,
infuriating.
it's a very emotional moment. It
So
does.
I liked the acting. I liked the acting. I thought Kristen Dunst, she was good. Mary Jane Watson, James Franco, he played Harry, I think, to a T. And then of course Willem Dafoe. I mean, like the guy is so good as Green Goblin, doing the heckle and I'm not trying to say heckle and the hell is it? You know what I'm talking about,
The
right?
well, like I always
Hide
thought
and
like
Jekyll, Hide and Jekyll. Am I
yeah,
stupid? That's
Jacqueline
the
Hyde,
first.
Jacqueline Hyde, Jacqueline
Holy
Hyde.
crap! Like the
Jeez,
audience out there is listening, like, holy crap! Like this dude.
man.
Holy, oh my god. Uh, yeah, Jekyll and Hyde. He did that very well. J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, that's like such great casting.
Yeah,
And then I think the other thing that I just liked about it overall too is I did like the action. Like, there's some really good set piece moments in it.
yeah.
The apartment being on fire when like they're doing that slow mo thing where he's dodging like the blades.
Oh,
I'm like,
the
okay, I'm
blade
like,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, Danny Elfman's score for the movie, like it's now iconic. I feel like the music of those Spider-Man movies,
yeah.
really, really good. And then I also think that did think that Sam Raimi appropriately used his horror roots of like Evil Dead and things like that to sometimes make the suspense be a bit more like a horror movie in certain scenes. Like you talked about the graveyard scene.
Yeah. No,
Um,
yeah.
and then it also just has a good message too. I mean, this was again, you have to remember the time of this movie. It was before like Peter Parker had kind of been done to death. Where it's like, okay, we get it, Uncle Ben's dead, and with great power comes great responsibility. Like this started all that.
Yeah.
And so I thought from a writing standpoint, they did a good job of a person coming of age and like realizing that yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. And I liked how they tied that into the first movie. So
Yeah. Thank
now,
you.
now, real quick. what doesn't always work, and it especially feels apparent today when you compare it to how well they've kind of gotten the formula down on these superhero movies.
Yeah.
I feel like in the first Spider-Man in particular, people always kind of nitpick the costume, like the Green Goblin costume. They think it looks like a Power Ranger a couple of
It
times. Like
does.
I've heard that complaint here and there, and I get it. Like he's got like that big like cone head thing, and
Yeah, it's very
he
plasticky looking.
yeah, very plasticky looking. And I'm not gonna defend it. I mean, yeah, like if you watch it now, there's way better costumes that have come into play.
Oh yeah.
But the first one, I don't really have a lot of complaints. I mean, it's a very well-rounded movie. It's a good movie.
I agree. Here, I took some notes today from when I watched the movie,
Yeah. What
and
what notes did you take?
some of my favorite parts were Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Like I honestly like we can go a little bit more into this, but he's my favorite Spider-Man because
Yeah.
I love and I know maybe it's not exactly what the comic books say, like you guys were talking about in No Way Home, but I very much love the like awkward dude that doesn't talk to girls, that doesn't like know
Yeah.
how to do anything, that's a stupid teenager. I very much love that aspect of Spider-Man, and it feels very like I don't know. It allows me to see myself a lot better as Spider-Man, and it allows me to connect to him a lot more because he feels so much more human
Mhm.
than superheroes you see much more often today, I think. So I love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I think it's the perfect level of sometimes you could tell when he's just being arrogant and stupid, and you could tell when he's like being a loser and he doesn't think of himself as anything. Like he's very good at portraying very specific emotions
Yeah.
and holding like his character to like I don't know. He does a great job as Spider-Man.
I
So
also sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I
You
was
got
just gonna say, like, I'm thinking of like some of the story elements in the movie, and one that I always liked, and I feel like even in the second Spider-Man, which we'll get to, there's sort of a similar dynamic that's going on. But I really like the relationship between Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe in the movie.
Oh yeah, it was
Because
great.
well, and what I liked about it is that, and again, like the second Spider-Man echoes it a little bit, but like Willem Dafoe, it's like, you actually like him, like before he becomes the Green Goblin. You're like, this guy's actually a pretty like good-hearted dude that is
Oh
trying
yeah,
to work hard. Like he's trying to do like right for his loser son Harry that keeps can't get it straight in school. So
yeah.
he makes a crack in the car. I thought that was just like, what? It's like you failed every private school I ever sent you to. But what I liked is that because Peter of course doesn't have his father, and yet Willem Dafoe, it's like what could have been.
Yeah.
That's what I think works for it, is because like when he goes bad, you're just like, oh man, like it's such a shame, because like if he hadn't have gone bad, he could have looked up to him as like a father figure,
Yeah.
and I like that. I like
And
that.
even too in the way he goes bad, you feel kind of bad because he's just like he's being pressured by the board, he's being pressured by generals and different things like that, and he believes in the science experiment to work, and he puts himself on the line to do it, and it just like goes crazy and he turns crazy.
That was
But
actually sorry, you talked about the board, like trying to pressure him and everything like that. That's one
yeah,
thing I it's been a minute since I've rewatched the movies, but I've seen them many times, so I can talk about it easily.
yeah,
But I don't think I ever quite like figured out why they hated them so much. Like why they're just like, we want you out, your equipment sucks.
that was that.
Aerotech or whatever it is, like we're gonna buy their contract. You suck. Get out.
Well, it was like so initially it was his science experiment didn't have any human trials yet, and
Oh
Aerotech
yeah,
was
yeah,
having human
yeah.
trials. So it was
So they,
timelines at
they,
the
they felt
start.
like he was being slow.
Yeah, and then
Got
it
it.
developed more into I think his ego or something like that. Why the board basically just like shut him out and he killed the people on the board. So
Out am I?
it was definitely like a one-off line that didn't really matter, and you just needed to know like the board was cutting him out and they didn't like him, and then the Green Goblin comes in and like is like, all right guys, we got to get rid of him, kind of thing,
Dude,
I thought I like
sorry, go
the
ahead.
Jacqueline Hyde moments where like he's facing the mirror and like the way
Mhm.
the editing is done, so you never like see his face change or anything like that. You could just tell who's talking to the other
Yeah.
person. Fantastic. Unbelievable editing, unbelievable acting by Willem Dafoe. Green Goblin is an amazing villain, I think. And it was also one of the things I wrote down of that I love about this movie is the complexities of Willem Dafoe as a character, the complexities of the villain of Green Goblin, and how it works, and it all kind of makes sense too. I don't know. Like, you're right. The costume is definitely weird and cheesy, but I'll give it credit. I think the tech is really cool. Like his like flying thing is kind of
and
fun,
his
and
pumpkin bombs.
his pumpkin bombs and his like blade things. Those are all really cool. So I think he's a really cool villain, and I love the way he interacts with his son, with Peter in the movie. How there's like the scene where Peter like has the cut coming back, and Willem Dafoe realizes that Peter is Spider-Man, and
Yeah,
just like that
there's
instant, just like blank expression on his face. It's I don't know.
there's a lot of tension in that scene.
Yeah, no,
You know, like you're like you really actually think you're like, okay, like he actually might get caught. Like Peter Parker
yeah,
might get caught in this scene. I want to go back to the boardroom stuff real quick.
okay,
I still remember in the theater and even in subsequent viewings, I always kind of jump a little bit because it's great sound editing in particular. Is the part where like they're saying like like we're gonna be sign the deal with them and you're gonna be basically fired. We're forcing you to step down.
yeah.
And he does that part where he's just like, you can't do this to me. And then like it's really quiet. He's just like, and he like freaks out. He's like, you know how much I sacrificed. And I always like actually get pretty freaked out, but that's just to credit Willem Dafoe and his acting. He's so
The dude's a
good.
scary man. Like
Dude,
it
he
was,
has he has a very animated face. I think
yeah.
I actually saw he did an interview recently, or I don't know, he does a lot of interviews, but I saw him do an interview where he's just like, it's like I can't help that I kind of have a freaky face. Like I have a lot of expressions I can do with my face. He's like, that's just how I am.
We love Willem Dafoe here at Screen Speak.
We do.
Go see our Lighthouse podcast if you haven't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We've
Uh,
talked about him before.
yeah, what a legend, dude, honestly. But like in Lighthouse too, he also just like the way they do the lighting in that movie, and he's
True.
just like the most scary looking guy you've ever met in your life. Like he was a great pick for the Green Goblin in this movie,
What
and he does a great job.
are there any other Willem Dafoe movies that you like?
What else have I seen by him? I can't think of any off the top of my head. What are some that you like?
Well, of
Uh,
course, everyone talks about Platoon. I mean, Platoon is really good, and he has that iconic moment where, spoiler alert, he gets like, blasted in half by the Vietnamese. Uh, but Platoon is really good. Let me see what else. He's actually had a couple of good supporting roles here and there over the years. I
yeah.
actually always liked the Denzel Washington movie Inside Man. He
Oh,
plays like one of like the head SWAT team officers in that movie, and that's just a good bank heist movie.
I
But
haven't seen that movie. That sounds good.
that would
I'm
actually
looking up his movies now, and he was in Finding Nemo. That's right. He was
he's Gil. He's
he's
Gil.
Gil. Yeah, that's right, dude. That was also a great pick. Gil's a fucking creep, dude. He was a scary guy.
Gross. Willem Dafoe. It's so funny. I gotta share my screen. Hang on, I'll share my screen here. It's okay. Like, cause I Google Willem Dafoe and I gotta show you the first image that popped up. It is too funny. Hang on, where do I? Okay, yeah, share. Screen speaks like we don't care about your troubleshooting because you're an idiot and doesn't know how to share a screen. Do you see this?
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh my god, jeez.
Like this is literally the first thing that came up. I think this is actually a scene from Speed 2 because I'm pretty sure that he's the bad guy in that. And it's just
Yeah.
like Jesus.
Jeez, man.
Okay.
Oh yeah, dude.
Let me actually here. I can share this. He is in the Northman. Did you ever see that?
I haven't, but I've heard about it, and I've heard it's pretty good, but I heard it like flopped unbelievably at the same time.
It
So I
flopped a
don't know.
lot, and it's a real shame because I really liked it. But what I will say is where I think the flop came in is that from a story perspective, there are arguments to be made that it's like pretty like predictable. Like
Okay.
it's a very classic revenge tale.
Okay.
it's not too surprising what happens. Of course,
Interesting.
Boondock Saints, right there.
Boondock Saints. Yeah, that's a great one.
Paul
Dude.
Smecca. American Psycho, he has a couple weird scenes with Christian Bale there. I'm sorry, I'm like now on all this.
We're
Dude,
going in.
he gets brutally killed in the first John Wick. Like
Where
really
was he in
so
John
bad.
Wick? Was he
He's
the
the
main
like
bad guy?
assassin. No, he's like the assassin friend of his that
Oh
like is kind
yeah,
of protecting him, and then the Russian guy like ends up just wasting him at the end to draw John Wick out.
that's right. I do remember that. Yeah, John Wick's a great movie too. Oh man, we should talk about that.
Did you see the trailer for the fourth one?
I've not. I've only seen the first two actually. I need to
Really?
see some more of them. Yeah, I haven't seen the
Oh,
third one
dude,
yet. I've heard the third one's really good, but I
you
haven't had time to
should.
see it.
That would. I'm trying to. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to not sharing my screen here. Okay. How do I not share this anymore? Okay, stop sharing. Um, no. So I've been following a bunch of the different trailers from Comic Con. You've been
Uh-huh.
seeing any of those? Because it's mostly superhero movies. Like they have Black Panther 2 and Shazam 2 and freaking Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. I don't know how to feel about that.
Wait, wait. Who is what?
Black Adam. I think he's in the Shazam universe. He's a DC character, but Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is going to play him. And I guess he's been lobbying
Oh,
like for the part. He's been like it's like a passion project. He's been trying to get the movie made for like forever. Um,
interesting.
I
Well,
don't
that
know.
sounds cool. At least maybe. I don't know. What are your gripes about it? What's your this is gonna go poorly about it?
It's not. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry if that's like the tone that comes across. I think it's just Dwayne Johnson. I think he's got a lot of charisma and he's cool in certain movies, but it's sort of like a Ryan Reynolds thing to me.
Yeah.
He just kind of feels like Dwayne Johnson in every movie. I don't really feel like he's actually a character sometimes.
He's never. Yeah, I can't recall a movie where he doesn't play Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Right?
I just feel like he's always kind of playing versions of himself, but he's never really like doing anything that's different.
No, yeah, he's always playing the exact same character, and the character is always a very generic, bland, superhero esque, whatever it may be. Maybe like big buff man with big gun, something along those lines, basically. And then he's charismatic and says quippy lines and different things like that. You know,
Hey,
I
I
agree
mean,
with that
I
sentiment. Yeah.
shouldn't knock it though. I mean, he's got his own tequila line. He's making a bunch of movies, done HBO stuff. Like he's busy, and he's obviously in great shape. Except I'm pretty certain that he's on steroids. But
He's most
I,
definitely on some sort of steroids, but that's okay.
that's all right. We love you, Rock. Happy to have you
I
on Screen Speak.
Yeah, you were The Rock. You should join us on Screen Speak sometime.
He's definitely
Thank
listening to this.
He's definitely listening. We'll get in touch with his people. You know, we'll get
Yeah,
in touch.
we'll. I don't even what he actually has a production company too. I can't think what it's called. It's called like Roundhouse Kick to the Face Production or bullshit like that. And I got like
That's such a The Rock name.
the
Oh my
Rock
gosh, he can't help
Production.
but be himself.
Yeah, they can't. Oh yeah, $7 Productions. Because I think like he called it that because like when he first started, he always talked about he's like I had like $7 in my pocket when I first started, and
Uh,
now I rose from nothing to everything.
okay. I will say I kind of hate that mentality. Like he does that, and the short guy. What's his name?
Short guy.
Yeah, the guy. He always does stuff with The Rock. He's a
Kevin
comedian.
Hart.
Kevin Hart. Yeah, they both have that mentality where they're like, yeah, man, I started from nothing, but now I grind for 18, 19 hours a day, and I'm just doing stuff all the time. You know, I'm just doing stuff all the
Yeah.
time. I don't know. Like, I understand they're trying to like, I don't know if they're trying to like make people be motivated and stuff like that, but it's just kind of weird because it's just like, okay, man, like you're
Yeah.
a big movie star. I feel like some normal schmuck off the street like me is not going to get anything out of you telling me to work
That's because
harder.
you have no in your heart. You tell yourself no. You need to work at it. Get the grind going.
Yeah,
Grind it up.
I don't believe in the system, man. I don't believe in the work that needs to be put in. You know, I feel like that's how it is too. They always just say all these buzzwords, and there's never any like, there's
Yeah.
no like do this and do this. It's always just like you gotta just like work hard and believe in your dreams, you
Oh, I
know. And
know. That that
it's just like okay, man, I will, I guess. I don't know.
that yeah. I admit I get a little. It gets a little tiresome after a while when like you hear those things and like you said it's like okay like you're pumping me up but you're not actually giving me concrete advice for like what do I do,
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
like when I hear like actors specifically talk. Like one of the things that drives me crazy is I've only ever seen like a few handful of interviews where like they're actually giving like pretty honest real answers of like how to do it. But like most actors, they're not about to tell you, well, this is what the steps I had to do to get an agent. This is how I had to get proper representation. This is how I got into the Screen Actors Guild. Like they're not telling you actual things. They're just like, just you got to audition a lot and yeah,
Gotta work
don't always
hard.
get them and just work hard and then eventually you'll get to be in a superhero movie. Like it's that simple.
I forgot who it was, but I think it was maybe Hugh Jackman. It was either Hugh Jackman or Taylor Swift, which is like, oh, interesting. They don't really relate, but I remember one of them saying like big TV people and big movie people are like the last people you should listen to get like solid advice from, because most of the time getting that famous is just like luck base, and the
Yeah.
things they did in their life only got them like they didn't though doing everything that Hugh Jackman does not like get you. It doesn't make you Hugh Jackman, like I don't know. There's a lot that goes into being who you are, and just like listening to a movie star tell you to work hard and believe in yourself is just like I don't know.
Have you ever listened to the cast of Spider-Man 1 to do anything? Have they given you life advice through a video? I haven't seen any of them do that. I mean, Willem
I
Dafoe's pretty outspoken, but he doesn't really like do that.
I haven't heard anything Tobey Maguire's ever said outside of the Spider-Man movies.
Have you
My
seen?
roommate was telling me that apparently he like yells at TMZ people or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, tell us about that, Jordan. Tell us about that.
Okay, so there's a great video. In fact, actually, let me. Yeah, I can do that. I can loop an audio for it. It would be absolutely worth it. So let me. Okay, so sorry, it's hard for me to like even talk about it without laughing. Okay, so in this next section that you're about to hear in Screen Speak, Tobey Maguire is trying to get out of a parking lot, and the paparazzi are blocking him, and he is not happy. Here we go.
You're messing up my Spidey senses! You're messing up my Spidey senses!
Oh my God, Toby!
Are they enlisting you for Spider-Man 7 yet?
I want to be a Spider-Man 4, Toby!
Toby!
Let him go, you can't see!
We got you blocked.
Let him go, you can't see! You can't block him in, guys! It's against the law!
Go!
No.
You guys need
You're
to
good.
back
Hey,
up.
tell me
I
you're
can't
good.
see
Stop
the
it, please.
cars.
Okay, back
you're
up, guys. You can't see the cars.
They got
Get the fuck out of the way. I can't see. There are cars there, motherfucker. Get out of the way.
They're stopped for you, dude.
We're blocking the cars for you.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
Sorry.
I don't know. I feel like
Did you watch it?
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I hate paparazzi as a whole.
No, dude. Okay, like they're absolutely crowding his car. And I think like with the flashes, like he's trying to like see if he can merge onto the road. And he's like, I can't see. Like, get the f out of my way.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah, that seems like a strange profession, paparazzi, like going around just like being like, hey, did you see that Tobey Maguire threw away some trash out on 6th Street? Like, I don't care.
Sophia, my girlfriend, for those of you who don't know the Screen Speak lore, she's been on the podcast a few times.
Yeah.
But she's really she's been listening to a podcast recently about Princess Diana. And
Okay.
it goes like a deep dive onto who Princess Diana was and who she is. And they talked a lot about the paparazzi, because that was a big part of kind of who she was, because apparently like if you get a picture of Princess Diana like on a beach somewhere, a magazine company would give you £2 to £3 million. Apparently, was what a
crazy.
picture was going for. Yeah. So like, I was listening to that. I'm like, I don't know. I always thought paparazzi were just absolute scum of the planet, because I'm like, dude, come on, you're gonna invade these real people's lives and just like try to take pictures of them. It's very weird, and it's like very immoral. But listening to that amount of money too, you're like, oh my gosh, like I mean, like I can feel bad for these paparazzi, but I feel like we should blame more magazines or people that read these magazines that are like taking exploitation from these paparazzi people. because it's like,
it's a combination of things on the subject of paparazzi. I mean, I think first and foremost, the thing that I get annoyed with is I do get annoyed like when celebrities are always standoffish against them, and I mean like always, like even the ones that are like I would say doing it respectfully, like they're
Yeah.
still getting pissed off. Part of me, it's like, okay, like if you are gonna put yourself out there on such a public platform and you're out there for millions of people to see and like you're enjoying the fame, to me, it's part of the price. Like
Yeah.
it's part of the job. It's occupational hazard. Like you
Mhm.
kind of have to do it. But then at the same time, there's ones that I would say are the slimy ones. You know, like they follow like you when you're dropping your kids off to school, and it's like, okay, dude, like get out of my space. Like you
yeah,
don't.
dude,
No one cares about this.
don't
But
show up
then,
to
like
my
you
house
said,
at 3 a.m. Like, what
but
are you
then, like
doing?
you said, it's like there's clearly people out there that I don't know have no life, or they realize that their magazine will sell more issues if they get that picture of Princess Diana on the beach. So I don't know. I mean, it's a combination of things, but I think I don't know if you're in the limelight, you're in the spotlight. Yeah, I think you just got to kind of roll with it, and hopefully you just kind of kill them with kindness. Though I did see that one video. We're talking about paparazzi outrage, and then we'll finish Spider-Man 1. Move on to 2. Did you see the video of Tom Hanks like telling the paparazzi to back the F off because they got too close to his wife?
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
That's just funny
Dang.
because you never usually see Tom Hanks just like openly
No, he's never
swear.
mad.
He has
Yeah.
like a very good guy, America's dad image.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like that one I kind of thought was a little excessive because the guy accidentally tripped and kind of like bumped into her. It wasn't on purpose. You can
Yeah.
tell. But he probably just got like the the parental instinct like kicked in where it's just, or the maternal instinct, whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just like back the hell off. And you're just like, easy, Woody. Okay.
Jeez,
Sorry
man.
about that.
Woody. Oh boy.
Okay. So, all right, let's get back on track. So, Spider-Man 1, is there any other thoughts that you have on that before we jump to Spider-Man 2?
I actually do have a few more, if that's okay.
It is okay.
So one point I would like to make is in this movie they do not hide the fact at all that the high schoolers are in their mid-30s.
Oh, yeah.
It is so prevalent in this movie. They are just in their
Flash
30s.
Thompson, like the guy Joe Manganiello, the actor, I can never pronounce his name.
Yeah.
That dude, no way in hell that he is 17.
No, yeah. It's so funny, like seeing him stand next to a locker. You're like, wait a minute, guys, come on, guys. Like, it's just it was a funny thing. I don't know. I feel like it goes back to where the movie just has like a lot of charm where you can forgive things like that, and you're just not like it doesn't take itself seriously, so you just don't really care. Whereas like the immersed, I don't know. Go ahead.
Sorry, I do really like when he does first discover the powers. I mean, like one when it shoots out and it hits like the food tray, he's just like, "Who?" And like, he's genuinely freaked out about it, as he should be. If I had white stuff coming out of my arm, that would be strange. But then I also do like the and this is where I think you're kind of touching on like the playful nature of Spider-Man is when he first gets on the rooftop and he's like, "Okay, go." Fly, up and away with. Like he has no idea how to get it to do it, and it's cool because like that's believable. It's not like he just suddenly knows how to swing around and do acrobatics. It's like he's got to figure it out.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think the coming to terms of figuring out your superpowers in this movie are fantastic. Like the rage cage scene, absolutely fantastic.
R.I.P. Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man Randy Savage is the greatest. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I saw there was some. It might have been like a Reddit forum or something I was reading, and I'll try to tread carefully here on this, but I saw someone like say Spider-Man should be canceled. Spider-Man, there's a scene in there that's offensive to the LGBTQ people, and it's the scene where he like flips up there and he's like, "That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?"
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, dude, it's funny because he's wearing like these like big tights and everything like that.
No, yeah, I agree.
It's
It's
just that's a whole nother subject, but where it's like people are trying to take a movie that's like 20 years old and find something that they find socially offensive now. I'm like, come on.
yeah, no. I mean, it was made at a different time, honestly. Like, if you put that joke in a movie today, it would cause a lot of backlash. But like,
Oh,
this was
probably.
it was the 2000s. Like, it was just not something people really thought about, you know. And like, can we? I don't know. Yeah, there is always the moral question of like movies today, movies of the past. Some of them haven't aged as well as other ones. Like, what sort of credit do we give them for that? What sort of leniency do we give them? I don't really know the answer to that, and
No, no.
that's a tough thing.
That's a
So
whole separate podcast.
that's a
Because
whole separate podcast.
it
Yeah,
is a subject I'm interested in talking about, but I don't think this episode probably wouldn't be the best place to like get really into it.
yeah. No.
Now that said, I love Bonesaw. I like how his fans have like the song. They're just like, yeah.
I think there was when I watched the movie today, there was a side like it was like "Let him die" or something like that. It's just like, oh, this is great, dude. I don't know.
And of course, I do appreciate that Sam Raimi does make the point of having Bruce Campbell be in all three of the movies as a cameo. Because in the first one, he's the wrestling announcer. The second one, he's the annoying theater valet guy. And then the third one, he's the French waiter, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh.
Well, because that's, if you know anyone's a Sam Raimi fan, they know all about Evil Dead. Ash,
Yeah.
that's the actor. That's like his buddy. Okay, so any other thoughts on the first Spider-Man movie?
I have one more thought. I'm sorry. I have one more thought.
No, it's.
But I wanted to talk about Mary Jane and the character that is Mary Jane.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
kind of glossed over that.
I feel it's weird. I honestly, she was one of the parts of the movie I just did not like. And she was a good actor. She did a good job, but just the way I think just the way they like wrote like damsel in distress woman like 20 years ago, it feels incredibly shallow and it feels just weird, and especially where she's just like jumping from one dude to the next, where she's got the high school bully that has a new car, and it starts with that, and then it goes to the rich guy who's like, you know, he's got money, and then Willem Dafoe talks about like where like he tells her off about how she's gonna like take all of his money or something like that. There was a lot like, I don't know, they didn't really give her a character at all, and they gave her a character through the guy she was dating, and it just
I
felt
can see that.
it felt like it was a superhero movie, so like that's kind of just how they were written. And I mean, you could argue they're still written today like that too, but it makes it just, it made me not like her at all, because she felt like just like a shell. She just felt like a hot woman that was there,
Oh,
and we were
yeah.
just supposed to be in love with her. And it was just like, I guess she's pretty, but like, what has she done? And she's also kind of treated Peter Parker like shit, because she's just like dating all these other guys. And like, I mean, it's supposed to be the whole like,
that's like classic high school thing though. The
I
nice guys
know.
finish last because they just want the bad hottie guy. Like that's how
Yeah.
it goes. That's how it
I
goes,
know,
man.
but it's weird. It's weird watching it, because it just like they take it very like, that's just how the like.
The worst. I mean, if you're talking on that subject, I think the worst scene as far as like an offender for that would be the scene where the iconic upside down kiss happens, like the events leading up to it, because it's like, okay, Peter, I'll see you. And then like it starts to rain, and there's like these 5 guys like in hoodies, you know, and they see her, they're like, ugh, hot woman, you know, and they just like go chase after her. She's like, ah, get away from me.
Well, yeah, too. It's also like they describe her too as like she's in love with I forget his name, Harry. She's in love with Harry or whatever.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, she says like, I think I've fallen in love with another. And it's just talking about like this Spider-Man guy she's never met, and it's just saved her life twice. And it's just like, okay, really? You're just gonna fall in love with this guy because he saved you twice? I don't know,
He
man.
did the super sexy upside down kiss. I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
man, it's the rain. They're both wet. I mean, like that. There's definitely some tongue action happening there. It's a French
It is.
kiss.
It is
I mean,
iconic.
I admit,
I will
as
give
a
it
young,
that. It
as
is.
a young little boy, I watched that and I was like, ooh, like, you know.
It is iconic. Watching it now, though, it was just like it was the one thing that really threw. It was the one character I didn't really like in the movie
How
because
many
she felt so one dimensional.
how many couples or guys have tried to do that upside down kiss shit? Like I bet like they're just like, oh, we gotta try that. We gotta do that.
I feel like every relationship you've got to try to do that.
I mean, I've done the upside down kiss. I don't think I've done it to that extent, but like I
Of
did.
you
it,
hanging
like,
from a spider web? You haven't hung from a spider web, Jordan?
I haven't done I haven't done it
In
from
the rain?
club. No. Now I gotta do like what the J. Jonah Jameson's son does, the astronaut guy in the second one, where they sort of do it in the second
Oh,
one,
yeah.
like on the couch. I've done one
Yeah.
of those.
Oh
But
yeah,
no.
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Then no, I mean you have Mary Jane. Like she's of course, and then of course they have the scene where she's falling from the bridge because the goblin has her. You know, he's
Yeah.
just like, you must choose between the children and MJ.
Yeah, I like that part though. I always like the
Yeah,
nice
heroes gotta
throw in
decide.
the trolley problem. You gotta throw in the trolley problem, you know.
I gotta say though, I mean this is dark, and this is I guess my last thought on the first Spider-Man. Is it bad that sometimes when I watch that, I'm like, I do want like like either like the kids to die or like MJ to die because I sometimes it's like I'd like to see real consequence where they're not gonna figure out how to tie it all together. Where it's
Yeah.
like no, like it's like they're put in a lose-lose situation. Like
Well, let me. I think a great solution to that was The Dark Knight because I think when
Yeah.
it's so generic to have these superhero movies where it's like pick this Batman or this, you know,
Yeah.
and yours are like okay, he's gonna save them both. Like one of them isn't gonna die, you know, right? And I feel like The
Yeah.
Dark Knight did a fantastic job
They did
of
a great
like
job with that.
of taking that like generic superhero situation and making it different and making it a surprise and something you didn't think about before. I don't know.
Yeah, because
So that was a good example where
he has that monologue where he's like, "People are just scum that you think they are children," or you know whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, I actually can't believe I haven't talked about the Dark Knight movies on here. Any of them?
Oh, The
I'll
Dark
do
Knight's
that.
so good, dude. You'll have to do that. The Dark Knight is like one of my favorite movies of all time, probably. I
Do you
would
know
say.
what one of my favorite movies of all time is?
What is that?
It's Spider-Man 2.
Oh man, segue. Oh baby.
Segue. No, I actually okay. So Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I really do think like it definitely from a filmmaking perspective improves upon many things from the first. Like the effects are better. You can tell they have a better budget. The action's done better. I don't know how else to say it, but it's just like everything from a production standpoint is done better.
Yep, I agree.
And of course Doc Ock, the villain, Alfred Molina. I think he was an exceptional villain at the time, especially because he's really not a villain. He's not. I mean, like he had an experiment go haywire, and he has microchips that made him insane, essentially.
Yeah.
But he himself is not bad, and I think that at the time in superhero movies hadn't really been seen.
Yeah.
To humanize like that.
I also think, as a more shallow point, I think he is an amazing action sequence villain. Like
Oh
Doc
yeah, there's
Ock,
so
it's
many
such
clever
a
things that you can do with the arms.
yeah. The arms is just there's a lot of clever things you could do with it. You can make the action really interesting. He's a very like the action in this movie I think is fantastic too, and that's another thing where they really improve the budget, and it kind of pays off pretty well because there's just a lot of really cool scenes, and especially with Doc Ock. You know.
Well, and I would also say from the storyline, and this is why Spider-Man 1 and 2 work so well together, is because they feel extremely cohesive. Like, it feels like the events of the first one genuinely affected character motivations and choices in the second one. Like, Harry and Peter's friendship, you know, is rocky because of him losing his dad and, like, him having resentment towards Spider-Man. You know, they have the, again, kind of more grounded reality of, yeah, New York is expensive. Spider-Man doesn't live in some penthouse. He lives in a spot with the Russian landlord being like, rent? Give me my rent! I'm sorry for my Russian audience out there, but that's how to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like he's struggling trying to balance it all. I think that was really interesting seeing like an overwhelmed Spider-Man that like can't live all the lives that he's trying to do. Like it's like he can't be a student, he can't be a friend, he can't be a boyfriend. Like he's failing on all these different fronts, and I think that's I mean, I don't know, just from a human level, I think that's relatable for sure.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Trying to do too much.
It makes Spider-Man very much a very good intro movie in describing like how Peter Parker came to be Spider-Man. And this is the second movie is fantastic in talking about the dilemmas that come with being a superhero, with how it
Yeah.
affects your personal life, with how it affects the way people see you, with how it affects all these different things and how you still have to be like a human sort of, but then you're also just like doing all this crazy stuff at night. It
Yeah.
does a really good job of taking like a complex issue of like being a superhero in the real world, and it runs with it very well. And I think it does a great job because the characters are so well developed, so it really goes into the complexities of the relationship with like him and Harry. But even someone like how Aunt May is involved in it too, I think is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And like the way she's like dealing with the death of their uncle still,
Yeah.
and how she's kind of like his rock, his ground for the movie.
Mhm.
It's a very it's again, you're right. It is the perfect sequel to an already
Well,
great first movie. And I
and
would say the
that's
second movie's better, honestly.
well, that's what Spider-Man 3 gets wrong when we talk about that, is that I think they had too many cooks in the kitchen on that one, and especially they lost sight of keeping it about the characters. I think they got more focused on like the set pieces and special effects and less about what the story of the characters is.
Uh-huh.
But Spider-Man 2 does it exceptionally well, and also there is really some jaw-dropping action sequences in that movie.
Yeah.
I do like the bank heist scene where Doc Ock's chucking gold coin bags at Spider-Man, which I always kind of like. That's a little bit like on the cheesy side because how many banks are having like bags of coins? Like I mean, maybe they have change like nickels and dimes and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
um, then you have, of course, that spectacular skyscraper scene, which is shortly after the bank scene, where like they're fighting up on top of the building. And some
Yeah.
people might watch that now and be like, special effects, or there's some definite CG there, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty damn good.
It works.
But of course, and then if we talk back to the memes,
Uh-huh.
Tobey Maguire looking like he's taking a crap face while he's trying to stop the train.
Yeah.
He's like, like doing that. But dude, that scene, seeing that on the big screen, I mean, like there's a lot of tension there, man. I mean, like the train's like going at like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Like you really actually think that these people are gonna die.
Okay, Sam Raimi has a love for making his action sequences in construction sites. I don't know what it is, but when I think of like all the Spider-Man movies, there's always a construction scene action sequence, or they're always just very like they're on top of a building, or they're in a warehouse where it's abandoned, or a building that's abandoned, or something like that. I feel like his set pieces for action sequences are very similar, and the subway action sequence is like a very dynamic change from that, and I think it works great and like showing like Spider-Man's limitations, Spider-Man's skills,
Mhm.
all those different things and saving people. I like it a lot. It's a lot better than just the on an abandoned something and dropping people from a high place or dropping someone from
Yeah,
a building or Mary Jane falling from a high place or whatever it may
yeah,
be. Like it's a very good change and it has some good memes that come with it too.
yeah.
Joey
Well, it's
Diaz
got,
is in that scene too.
dude. I hope you're going to talk about it, Uncle Joey. Uncle
Uncle Joe.
Joey.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to his podcast?
I've listened to it like a few times, but I'm not like too in deep in the Joey
I,
Diaz
I'm not I'm
lore.
not too I'm not too deep into it, but I do like his vibe. So I'm gonna curse here in a moment, so I'm not gonna add a bleep button. So you've been warned, screen speak. I love how he opens it up because it's so Joey Diaz. He always starts off every podcast saying, "What's up, you bad motherfuckers?" Like it's Uncle Joey. How you doing? Like he has he's Uncle Joey. There's nobody like him. He's a
Oh yeah, dude.
character.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
I always forget. I always forget that he is that.
Yeah, just man in the subway. What a legend.
I
But
would, dude. If you could see Joey Diaz live, would you go see him?
okay. I there's a lot of comedians I would see live, but comedy shows are so expensive, dude. I like
I,
I'm like I would maybe go see Joey Diaz would definitely be up there of like a person
I
I
would.
want to see live.
I would want to see him.
Joey
If
Diaz would probably be at like a pretty small venue too, or a dingy place where it would be really cool to see him live. Yeah.
I don't know if I told you. Did I tell you that I'm gonna go see Mark Maron here next month?
Oh, really? Where at?
Iowa City. He's going to be at the Englert Theater.
Oh, dude, that'll be really good. Actually, I like Mark Maron.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
like his WTF podcast.
Yeah.
I also used to I don't know if you ever saw it, but he for a couple of years had a show on IFC just called Marin, and it
Oh.
was just kind of like almost like a Seinfeld where it's just like about his life, but
Yeah.
not like a sitcom.
Uh-huh.
It ran for 4 seasons, and I really liked it.
Interesting.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
you've seen a
we're
few
gonna go see
comedians, right?
him.
Because I remember you've seen Tom Segura too, right?
Yeah, he's coming back here.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think he's going to be here this week. Like, he's going to be here, like, on the 26th or the 29th. I do love the name of this tour of just I'm coming everywhere.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
Oh,
what a
jeez.
phenomenal name. Now, I've seen him. I've seen Seinfeld. I'm trying to think. There's a couple more I've seen, but I mean, those are the ones I think that stand out the most. But I do agree, like a lot of them can be really expensive, and it
Yeah.
prevents you from going.
Yeah.
Who would you like
There's
to see, if not Joey Diaz? I mean, like besides like the really expensive people like Dave Chappelle and things like that.
we should oh my gosh, we should talk about Dave Chappelle in a moment. But I mean my favorite comedian, I've always been listening to Bill Burr's podcast forever, but he's so
Yeah, the
big now
Monday
where
Morning Podcast.
yeah, but he's so big now where he only plays like at stadiums. And I'm kind of skeptical to see a stand up comedian like a place
Do that.
like in a venue like that. I just feel like it would
It's I don't know how to feel about that because thankfully, like the shows I've been to, it's at a theater. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's probably like you could probably fit in like 500, 1,000 people,
yeah.
something like that.
A theater's much more attainable though. Like a theater is
Yeah,
like
stand up to
that
me feels
works.
strange if it's like you're like at Soldiers Field and
Yeah.
there's like 60,000 people. Like, how is that gonna be like enjoyable or feel like organic? Because it's just like, how you doing, everybody?
Yeah.
Woo!
And then the whole stadium just like goes crazy. And you're just like, I don't know, it
Yeah.
feels odd. Because Bill Burr came recently, but he played at the Target Center, which is like the big basketball like arena we have. And it's just felt like okay, like it would be me and 15,000 other people. And I just don't I don't know. I don't really
Yeah.
feel the need to see something like that.
Well, that's why
I'm not
I like
go
that
ahead.
Mark Maron, like he still is willing to go to the smaller venues. Like
Oh yeah.
he'll do that, and like it's not a big deal. Like he does. I think he's done both. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever done a stadium though. I don't think he likes that. He's been pretty public. He's like, I don't like doing that kind of stuff.
I feel yeah, I'm sure you make a lot of money doing something like that, but it's also just
Would
kind
you
of
see who was it? Gabriel Iglesias, the fluffy guy.
I've never seen his stand up, but I feel like I probably wouldn't like it very much. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't judge a book by its cover,
Right.
but I feel like his jokes are just gonna be I'm fat guys, look at me. Or I'm
Yeah.
not fat, I'm fluffy
Yeah,
guys, look at me.
He was on Hot Ones recently, and he's like, I own the word fluffy, basically. He's like, it might as well be trademarked to me, because when people Google it, it just comes up with him.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
Yeah, so
I'm just trying to think who else. Who else would be good? Hmm. Are there any female comedians that you'd go see? 'Cause there's not many. There's not a lot.
I
There's like
can't
Sarah Silverman.
really
There's like Whitney Cummings. Trying to think. There's some of them are on those Comedy Central roast shows. I can't think of them.
yeah. I honestly don't follow comedy very much. The most I follow comedy is like listening to Bill Burr's podcast, but as a whole, I don't.
Do you like?
That's definitely.
Do you listen to his life advice?
I like. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like when you get so invested in it, you just like listening to it every week because you're just like so invested in it, and you kind of just know how he talks. I mean, also Bill Burr specifically, all of his jokes come from him just talking on his podcast and coming up with an idea. So
Yeah.
it feels, and also like I don't know. One of my problems with stand-up comedy is it feels inorganic to me sometimes.
Mhm.
And I know good comics make it so it feels organic, but there is still very much the showmanship to telling a joke, and it feels odd. And like especially listening to like Bill Burr so much, like I've watched some of his stand-up specials and I can't do it because it doesn't feel as organic as listening to his podcast does, where it just feels like he's on stage, he is making this presence of himself and trying to make people
Mhm.
laugh, and you could tell he's trying to do that, and that just kind of ruins it for me a little bit. So
Mhm.
like And there's, I mean, like, I'm sure there's comedy out there that like is good enough where you don't feel that way, but I haven't run into a lot of it, honestly. And maybe I honestly, again, I haven't looked. I'm not that big into comedy scene. I'm much more of a music head as a
Well,
whole.
yeah,
But
I've always known that about you.
yeah, but
I'd like to go see more comedy. I mean, like if we could ever find like a show to go to together, that'd be fun.
dude, yeah, Minneapolis. They have like an Acme here where they have shows every week, and they're usually like $10 for just some like random stand-up comedian that's touring. And sometimes they're like pretty bigger names, but sometimes they're just some nobody you could just go see if you like it or not, kind of thing, you know. I don't know.
Okay, Adam, would you ever do it? You open mic? You know,
No,
just go up there for like 5 minutes and just talk.
no. I just, again, it goes back to there's a showmanship to it. You have to think about the pausing. You have to think about the
Yeah,
way the crowd is interacting with what you're saying,
yeah,
and
you
there's
gotta
just
feed off the energy.
all these social elements to it. I feel like it's just you're thinking too much about it, and then it kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird art form to me. It's a weird art form, and I have respect for it, but I don't know. I would never do it for sure. Would you ever do
One
it? I feel like you'd be pretty good at it, honestly.
uh I don't I feel like I could be selectively funny. Like most of the time, like if I end up being funny, I'm not trying to be funny. You
Yeah.
know, like I get like okay, like you know this, like you know my little brother. I get teased a lot, and then
Yeah.
people laugh at my reactions to stuff, or like they'll be like, "Ooh, like oh, Jordan's mad," and then like my reaction is funny, but it's like unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
But that said, I do think I can tell a story well. Like
Huh?
I know how to do it well, and I'm sure like if I applied myself a little bit, it'd be good. But I think like you, I would probably be afraid of getting too in my head about it. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to like, it would take a while. I'd have to like relax and like feel comfortable with it. But at the same time, if I really like found like a good story, 'cause I definitely thought it'd have to be a story. I wouldn't try to do like here's like a bit like
Yeah.
on farts or I don't know something that people find universally funny. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be that. Like I'd have to tell a story and have it feel organic because otherwise it's just gonna like you said feel like too performancey.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, there's certain ones that do it so well. I'll just say for the record, and then we'll continue Spider-Man 2.
Uh-huh.
George Carlin's my favorite stand-up comedian.
George Carlin, that's a good one.
Actually,
Actually,
hands down. I've read actually almost all his books.
oh wow.
Listened to many of his sets. Like the guy's timeless. Like he's so good.
I have listened to a few of his stand-up sets just like on YouTube, and he is pretty good. But my favorite comedian is actually Norm Macdonald. That's my
Yeah,
pick.
rest
I
in
love
peace.
Rest in peace, dude. I love Norm Macdonald. I love his comedic style.
They
Like
haven't. Did you
he's
hear
great.
that he filmed a last like stand-up special? Like he shot it like in his living room because I think like he knew he was dying, and he's like, I want to like get one more thing out there like after I'm dead. Have you heard about this?
Really? I have not. Oh my god.
Yeah, Netflix I think actually picked it up and they say that they're gonna air it. That's what I've heard.
That I would definitely watch that. That would be interesting. Because I feel like I mean, his comedy is very like, hey, look at me, I'm dead, guys. Like that's very much who Norm Macdonald is, where he just like laughs about everything, or it's like, especially he has very dark humor too, where he just like takes a situation and just like tries to make it funny, even like the
I've
worst
never,
situations, you know.
I
And,
don't
like,
think I've ever actually watched him really do stand up. I've seen him on things and I've seen him like do like performances here and there, but I've never like watched a full special.
yeah, interesting. I like his stand up a lot, honestly, because it's very similar to him. Like honestly, he plays a character, and even on like interviews and things he does with other people, he's playing a
Yeah.
character, and like that's why it works. Kind of why I like his stand up comedy, because he's basically just playing that same character, but it's such a genuine character, and it works really well. I think. I don't know,
For sure.
but
So dude, Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. It's
Back to it. Back to Spider-Man 2.
This is definitely one of the most squirrely episodes that I've had
Yeah.
on Screen Speak, where it's like we talk about Spider-Man, but then we talk about Joey Diaz, now we talk about the stand-up world. Like
There's a lot to talk about with these movies. There's a lot to talk about, man. I don't know.
there is. Okay, so I'm trying to think if like what else I would say about Spider-Man 2 other than that. I do think it is an improvement. I like Spider-Man 2 more than Spider-Man 1.
Mhm.
And it's got a great ending. I mean, like, well, first, okay, wait, sorry. Going back to the train sequence. I think there's a lot of heart in the scene, like when he's done, and like the New Yorkers like literally see him without a mask, you know,
Yeah.
and they're just like, oh shit, like. I think it's nice. That moment to me was nice because like it's easy to like vilify somebody behind a newspaper article, just
Yeah.
like how we do on social media. It's just like I hate
Yeah,
him.
that
I hate
Spider-Man
him.
guy. Yeah, because he has a mask on. He's just like, you
Yeah,
don't
but
see him
then
as a
like
human being.
they see him as like a flawed, like just broken, literally broken. Like his body's like ripped up after
Yeah.
doing that, and they're just like, you know, they have compassion for him.
Oh yeah,
I thought that's a beautiful moment.
that is.
And it's pretty short lived after that because I'm pretty sure Doc Ock is just like, get out of the way. And Joey,
Yeah,
like, "Gonna have to go for me, man."
yeah. That is a good
Of course,
point.
then
Yeah.
you have the classic moment too, where then Harry discovers who he is.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I remember the trailers were marketing that really heavy. They're just like,
Yeah.
a hero will be revealed, and it shows him going like, let's find out who's under it.
Yeah.
That was a good moment, and then of course the end too, because MJ also finds out who he is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wait, I thought she found out. She found out in the first one, didn't she?
No, like it's actually really weird because like she has the moment where like he says the line that like he said to her under the mask, and like he's
Yeah.
walking away because he's like, "You're so
And-
hot, but like I can't be with you," and then she
Yeah.
goes like, "Oh," like that, and then like turns around and looks, but it's kind of like the "is he?" question mark, but not I actually know it.
That's a good point. Okay. Yeah. That's true. Because I guess they never went farther with that, because then after that Mary Jane starts talking with
I do really like the
Spaceman.
moment.
What's his name?
Spaceman.
The guy she was
Oh, the
engaged to.
astronaut boyfriend guy. Yeah. He's playing football on the moon. Dude, also like how like the I love the little subtleties in the movie as well. Like the part like when he's at that party and he keeps trying to get like a little appetizer, and like there's the last one, like you just like it's just like, dude, can this guy get it any worse? Like nothing is working right for him, down to him getting the little crab cake. Like come on.
Poor guy, dude.
I also like, this is kind of more like on the sweet romantic side, but I thought it works well, is towards the end when she sees that he's Spider-Man, and I think his very first interaction, like he's trying to hold that huge piece of rust,
Yeah.
and like she's like underneath him, and like she's looking at him like, so like she's shocked, but she's like in love, and she's like, oh my god, like you've been doing this whole time, and he has that moment where he's just like classic Peter Parker. He's like, this is really heavy. And that comes through with Toby. That comes through with his performance. He still does like the vulnerable, sensitive, kind of dorky guy while being tough. And that's what I like that Toby brought to it, as opposed to the other Spider-Man. He brought that vulnerability to it.
Well, his being tough is always an act too. Like it's always you can tell he's putting on an act of being tough, and sometimes it pays off, but sometimes it also just like bites him in the butt, because he's just like he's being full of himself, and it just really comes back to bite him, or that sort of thing. Like it's a very humanized and character you would see yourself as. Like you just don't. There's no like unbelievable arrogance to his character. There's no unbelievable, very specific like. I don't know, because that's the problem I have with superhero characters sometimes is they have this one arc of like they act this way specifically, or they do this thing because of this event that happened in their lives. But Tobey Maguire is just like a normal dude, and he's just dealing with all these problems. And while he's like awkward and weird, at the same time he can be confident towards people, and at the same time he can be funny towards people, or whatever it may be. He's just, and you can kind of, I don't know.
One thing I gotta talk about, it's early in the movie when he's doing his badass pizza delivery, swinging like the 20 boxes around. I like that because like he's like, I got 10 minutes, and then it's really good editing because he's like looking and he looks up at the clock and then like do like a pan zoom in, and it's just like, oh, he's got 5 minutes, and he's like, I'm not gonna make it in traffic, so he changes into Spider-Man and starts delivering pizzas. And I still say, Adam, I tell you, to this day, when he goes up into that building and they have the funny moment with the mops where he's trying to like put it all back, and like the girl's just like, how did he like get in there? Like what? Whatever. Dude, she was baloney when she's like, I'm not gonna pay for the pizza. He was like 10 seconds late.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
Like,
Yeah, that's.
Do you ever get mad at that? Like I get mad at that to this day. I'm like, dude, he sweated to get those pizzas to you.
I mean, that's how like video game pizza deliveries go too. Where it's like you show up 5 seconds late and you get 0 stars, and the lady's looking at you like, I didn't get my pizza in time, or something like that, or like,
Even
like,
if Adam, even
where's
if you
my Diet
ordered,
Dr. Kelp?
even if you ordered a pizza from a service that's like pizza free, like if you don't get it in 30 minutes or less, and they do
Yeah.
that, would you do that? Would you be like, I ain't paying for it, man?
No, I mean, like, it depends. Does the kid have does it have an effect on the kid, or does it have an effect on the corporation? Like, if Domino's is
That's
paying
true.
for it, then yes, I would do that. But I don't really know how that stuff works. But if the delivery kid is paying for it, no, I don't. And I feel like in that sense, the delivery kid is the one probably paying for it. So I would just be like, dude, I don't care. Like, thank you for delivering me this pizza, man. I appreciate it. You
And
got me the pizza at the end of the day. Like, you are a legend. Thank you.
Speaking of delivery pizza, who is your favorite delivery pizza?
My favorite pizza chain.
No,
So okay,
yeah, like just delivery specific. Like you're not gonna sit there and dine and have their pizza, but like if
If
it's like
I-
late and you want pizza,
if I'm splurging, it's Papa John's because I love the garlic dipping
Mm.
sauce. That stuff is just
It's-
unbelievable. I
Wow.
usually I get Domino's the most because it's really cheap
yep.
and it's
I
a
just
good
had
deal.
Domino's like 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's good pizza, honestly. Like it does a good job, and you can get the like two medium, two topping for like $6 or $7 each. It's just a good deal as a whole. You can get as many pizzas as you want. So like me and all my roommates can get like 6 pizzas, and it's still only like $35 or something like that. So
Yeah.
Domino's is definitely the best. Papa John's is the best if I don't care about money at the moment. The worst is Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut
Oh,
is
I won't do
disgusting and
it.
terrible. Like
I won't do it.
like I'd rather have Little Caesars because at least Little Caesars commits to the bit of like we got $5 pizza here. Here you go. I also underrated. I like Papa Murphy's. Papa Murphy's is good stuff, and I know it's annoying to like having to put the pizza in the oven after you get the pizza, but that's what we did a lot when I was a kid, and like it's really
Right.
cheap and the pizza is really good. So I like Papa Murphy's as well.
I live right by Papa Murphy's, and
Oh yeah, that's
I've definitely like just like walked and then like I'm gonna go get a pizza and then just gotta come back because
oh yeah, you could just walk to get a pizza. That would be
it's
really
easy.
nice.
It's
Oh,
easy, and I
yeah.
definitely do it.
Dude.
Any other thoughts on Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. I mean, Doc Ock, tragic. I don't like when he has to drown himself.
That's true.
It's good. Some really good moments in it. And it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
But
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 is really like something like even if I go through and go like, ooh, like the special effects could be improved or that could be improved.
Yeah.
I do think it's like a near, if not perfect, superhero movie. It works on so many levels, and it's just a damn good movie.
I agree. There's a lot of complexity to the characters. The vibe of the movie is fantastic. It's lighthearted. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time deals with very serious issues.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job at dealing with those tones. The action's fantastic.
And do you
could
know what
argue
does the complete
great.
polar opposite of that?
What is what is that?
Spider-Man
Jordan?
3.
The transition, baby. He's unstoppable. Spider-Man
it's-
3.
It is so crazy to me, like how far the quality fell from the two movies. But I honestly think, and I have heard Sam Raimi like talk about it, like I think like he has taken ownership of the parts that don't work on that movie, like where it counts. But
Yeah.
I think because Spider-Man 2, you have to remember money can corrupt and make
Yeah.
things too bad. Spider-Man 2 was a huge hit. It was
Yeah.
huge.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's like one, we made a lot of money. Two, whoa, we made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it's like, where do you think they want to go from there? They want to
Yeah.
go bigger,
Yeah.
bigger. And I
Yeah.
definitely think that you could feel the rush job, because Spider-Man 3 felt like a rush job. It felt like the script got rushed to production. They threw more at it. It's
Yeah.
a mess. It's a mess.
They definitely were like they made the scope too large and they made the timeline too short, I feel like, where there was just all these different things going on and it just made it so confusing. And it just made it so it was hard to understand what was going on and get the tone of what was going on. And like, I don't know.
The
Yeah, I
biggest
agree.
thing I think like the biggest offender in the movie, and there's a lot that I could point to, especially story wise, but I really think they undercut the first movie by doing the whole alternate thing where it's like, actually, Sandman helped kill Uncle Ben.
That is
Like,
true. That was
I
just
really think
weird.
that took out so much of the emotion from the first movie, and it's like, why are we revisiting this? Why?
Yeah.
Like, that was settled. It helped. Like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
So
No,
stupid.
yeah. And it just made it a weird, like, because I feel like the first movie, like the whole point was that it was just some dude that Peter Parker could have stopped. And like I don't know, it was just weird how you're adding more layers to this that we feel like don't really need to be added. And it's also like it felt like we're going back to this old movie or the
Yeah.
previous lore, and we're changing things around. And
Yeah,
it just feels weird.
it's like when a Terminator movie tries to like redo something from the classic movie. It's like, why? You don't need
Yeah.
to do that. Don't touch it. It's good as is.
No, yeah. Or it's like J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter series, and like she's trying to go back now and say all these different things about all these characters, and it's like, well, I don't know. Why don't you just write the characters like that, or just like make I don't know. It's just I feel like there's a lot of like doing that never really works. I can't think of a moment where you're going back and changing the backstory in the
Yeah.
new movie ever really works. I don't know.
Very few times, I would say, if ever. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's pretty rare. But so yeah, I never liked that they tried to like reintroduce the Uncle Ben thing. I really felt that was just lazy and it just didn't
Yeah.
work. And then I think probably the biggest glaring thing as far as like what's jarring in Spider-Man 3, where you're just like, I don't know how I should take this, was him going to like the dark thing, because that's where more
Yeah.
memes have especially come out with Tobey Maguire being like emo Peter, the dangerous course. I mean, it's hilarious, but I still remember though the problem with that is that it's funny now. Like in hindsight, I think it's hysterical. I
Yeah,
love
you
him
see it
doing the
now. It's
dance.
just
Like he's trying to be cool. He's whipping his hair around. Like, hey, what's up? Let me show you how to move. Uh. There's so much stupid, cringy humor in it, but you
Yeah.
have to remember, Spider-Man 2 was like very serious,
Yep.
with subtle comedic moments, and then it's like they made it so jarring when evil Spider-Man starts coming the thing, and it's like I just remember the audience like when you're watching it, like they didn't know. I'm like, am I supposed to laugh or is this like, is this
Is he being
serious?
just so like evil? Yeah. What's going on?
And that's where
Yeah.
like the tone was questionable, where you're like, this feels like they're trying to make it serious, but it's actually coming off as stupid,
Yeah.
or the tone just didn't quite fit. It works now because we can cut it into a 2-minute meme, and then nobody cares. Then you have Bully Maguire. I do like the Bully Maguire stuff; it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I just think, yeah, for the movie, it felt very sloppy, and it just didn't really make much sense. And then, of course,
Yeah.
we'll talk about Venom. I mean, I don't know about that casting. Topher Grace.
Yeah. Venom as a villain is just it's kind of a weird
He's really
villain.
shoehorned in there. And then the
Yeah.
Harry thing where like they pull like a Fast and Furious and he gets amnesia for half the movie.
Yeah. And especially with the two villains too. And
It's
just
too
I feel like you're
much.
never really yeah, that's too much and they never were really fully able to develop either of the characters that you I don't know. I would say Sandman is definitely a little bit I would say better than Venom for sure,
Well,
but
they tried to sort of carry on the thread of a villain that's not really a villain. Because the
yeah.
first one, uh, Norman Osborn kind of is a little bit of a villain because he's egocentric, but he didn't really mean to be going, to go insane from the gas.
Yeah.
Second one, you have Doc Ock with the microchip experiment where he's trying to get fusion for the world. And then the
Yeah.
third one, they kind of made it simple where it's like, well, I'm just like a good father, but I'm also a criminal. And I just want to
Yeah.
save my daughter. And oh, there just happens to be a sand converter that turns me into a sand god.
Yeah, and then just the character dynamics too. They again, it goes back to they kind of just shoehorn Sandman in there instead of when you have someone like Green Goblin that
Yeah.
has an established background and there's an established this is the interactions they have with each other. But
Yeah.
Sandman, like you just pull him in from he actually killed his uncle and like you just
Well, and then they try to throw in the love triangle thing where it's like, oh,
oh
she's
yeah,
gonna fall
God,
in love with Harry again, and I'm
oh
like,
God,
get the fuck out of here. I'm like, no, Peter's her guy.
yeah,
She likes Peter. Like, come on, no. Just because
yeah,
Harry's showing up. Actually, no, isn't she like failing as an actress in the third one? Like, she's doing well in the
yeah.
second, and then they're just like, nah, like you're fired.
You're actually yeah, because she was on Broadway and then now she's just like you suck. So I feel like
Like I have no desire to watch Spider-Man 3.
I don't either. Yeah,
The parts that I
it's been
like
so
are
long
just the
since I've
parts
seen.
the parts that I watch are the parts that have been memed. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I like because it's just entertaining. But the rest of the movie, oof, it's rough.
Yeah, it's just the story is hard to follow, so it just makes it really slow and boring. Kind of,
Okay.
you're confused of what's going on. I don't know.
So one thing I want to talk about, and if there's more that you want to say about Spider-Man 3, we can. But I think this is the last subject that we can talk about, and then we'll start to wind it down.
Yeah, no, we're good. I'm good with Spider-Man 3. It was a movie.
Yeah,
That
I mean
existed in
that's
the
kind
world.
of it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
some stuff. You know, I like the dancing. Wish I
Yeah.
could do that. Dude, I
Yeah.
should do that at my wedding. When I enter the room, that would be the way.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do all of it. I'll lean into it. No, so what I'm curious about is, of course, the kind of this is more on the grander scale of the superhero movies, but Spider-Man was at a time when they weren't worried about universe building.
Hmm.
You know, it's a good movie. We're just trying
Yeah.
to make a cohesive story from beginning to middle and end. I do
Mhm.
think that they had a well, actually that's not true. I don't think they actually wanted it to be a trilogy. Because
Really?
Because Sam Raimi always talked about how he wanted to do a fourth one and stuff like that. I don't think they intended for it to be a 1, 2, 3.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts are on superhero movies at the time when they weren't focused on trying to make this big expanded universe. Was it better for that? Was it worse for that? Like,
It's I I have a personal opinion of thinking it's better. And I mean, I was listening to Jonathan, your podcast with Jonathan, and we definitely have different takes on how we see things, but we also have very different backgrounds where he very much grew up in the comics.
yeah,
And he's like, the great thing about something like the Marvel universe, and people get a lot out of really going deep into watching every single one of these, understanding the lore that goes on into them. And I think the nerds of Marvel like
yeah,
love stuff like that happening, and they love the general giant universe that's being created.
mhm.
And also, I think movie studios really like it at the same time because
Oh
then
hell yeah, it's a way to
they can
print money.
yeah, it's a way to print money. And like that's the part I don't like about it because it's very much like what I was honestly turned me off from Marvel movies as a whole is they've become westerns. They've become so focused on printing the money. And like like we talked about, the Spider-Man movies definitely have influences on the fact that they need to make more money. But especially the first two,
Yeah,
it was very much just like, this is an idea we have. We're throwing it out there. We're investing this money into it. Let's hope it works. And it worked. And it worked great. And like they made a lot of money off of it. But I mean, like the problem is the more movies you make of something that has like a similar like universe and background to it, the more
yeah,
that money just becomes involved in it because there's already this standing idea of like all these Iron Man movies and the Thor movies. They've already made all this money, right?
right.
And those past movies just have so much influence on the new movies that are being made. And it just has a huge effect on how the movie is made. It has a huge effect on the tone of the movie, where you see every single Marvel movie, you know the exact tone that it's going to have. And it's a great tone, honestly. Like I love Marvel movies, and they're very fun to watch. They're lighthearted, but they're also emotional, and they do a very good job of playing the lightheartedness of it and the quips of it and all these different things. But it's become so many of those movies have that tone to it that it's just become boring to me, and they've all
Yeah,
turned into the same thing. And the
yeah,
and that was why one of the movies I wanted to talk about, these Spider-Man movies, is it's so prevalent, me being able to see that side of the Marvel universe and how they've transitioned into money, because you watch the Spider-Man movies and it's not
mhm,
about that. Like it's just a completely different thing that you don't really
yeah.
see with superhero movies. I don't know. What's your take, Jordan?
Um, I mean, I could say I probably echo a lot of the things you did. I'm not against the world building. It's clearly shown a lot of success for MCU, and I do think it opened the doors for other maybe lesser known IPs, like characters to come in to the movies that maybe ordinarily wouldn't have been able to just have their own big budget solo movie.
Yeah.
So there's definitely pros with it. But I think I'm very much with you when it comes to sort of where I feel the MCU is at right now. I feel it's kind of like it's sort of similar to how I felt like with Fast and Furious, and I'll tell you what I mean in a second. They're not at all the same type of thing,
Yeah.
but like, this will make sense in a second. So I'm a big Fast and Furious fan. I actually am. Like I've been there since the first one. I've been watching them, and
He's part of the
eventually family and Corona. And eventually I'm going to talk Fast and Furious on the podcast. I think I've actually said that in a few episodes because there's a lot to cover,
Yeah.
both good and bad. But here's my point. The point is that the Fast and Furious movies were doing really great, and I really liked the evolution it was taking, particularly with 5 and then 6, and then you had the tragic death of Paul Walker. And 7, it's like it started to like 7 definitely started like pushing it where you're just like, okay, this is kind of cartoony. This is really getting dumb. You're losing sight of like what makes them special, and like they're just trying to top themselves and just make more money. But it had the emotional weight of Paul Walker. But my point with that is like, to me, it's like that's where the franchise peaked. The story peaked at that point, and I felt like it could have ended just right there. It could have ended right there, and maybe, yeah, you could have done like a spin-off movie, you could have done like a Hobbs and Shaw, but like Fast and Furious is like a property, like you could have just stopped it there. It kind of organically reached its conclusion. And I kind of feel that way a little bit with the Marvel movies, because after they did so much time, like a 12, 13-year period where they start with Iron Man and they're building and building to this moment, you know, with Thanos and everything. And like you really did feel the stakes. You're like, wow, like this is great. Like things are coming together. Like this thing from that movie ties into this movie. And it's all working so well because it made sense for this big grand story that they're doing.
Yeah.
But now it's like one of the first questions I think I had after Endgame is, well, now why do I really care? Because it's like you gave me the baddie of baddies in Thanos, where it's like literally the universe is at stake. Existence is at stake. And so now it's like when I go and watch some of these movies, it's like everything kind of just feels like it's not like, oh, well, I mean, the universe isn't going to end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel the weight of it as much. And then I definitely think it hurts from, you know, they don't have Robert Downey Jr., you don't have Chris Evans, you don't have, you don't have Chadwick Boseman anymore. I mean, that's a different reason. But I guess, I don't know, I sort of see it now as, like you said, it's like they figured out the formula from doing it for so long that they're now just like, let's see, writer's room guys. Where should Ant-Man be? I don't know, like, throw him over here in like the quantum realm. Yeah. Well, what's gonna happen there? I don't know. Some colorful stuff will happen, and he'll get into some trouble, but he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think
we'll just do that. I know they just announced at Comic-Con that they are leading to new Avengers movies. They talked about how there's going to be one called like the Shang or the Dang Dynasty. I don't know, and then there's the Secret Wars. I'm not a super nerd, so I don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of feel like they're not really solely focused on the character. They're just solely concentrated with that roadmap of like getting to phase 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so, like and that might just be like the filmmaker snob in me a little bit that just likes a quality over quantity. It's like I like a really tight character focused movie. Like I just like a movie that is focused on what's in front of it. It's not thinking 10 movies ahead. Yeah. It's just trying to deliver a good story.
Yeah, but I think like with the lead up to Endgame and different things like that, everyone was paying attention to that, and everyone had a connection with very specific Marvel movies. Where, and like I think it worked really well there. But you're right, where it's like when that goes away, and then you're just left with these either one-off Marvel movies or they're trying to do it again. It just feels like I don't know. But they're also they're rebuilding it with the exact same like way they've made Marvel movies, and it's become tiring almost, where it's like I hear I hear a Marvel quip now, and I'm just again it's the movie snob, in me, but I just like understand it's a Marvel quip.
Yeah.
I guess it's funny, but I just know that it's coming and I understand what it is, and I'm just like whatever.
I also think it's way harder. It's also way harder to keep up now because of Disney Plus. Because you have Loki, you have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you have WandaVision, you have shit. I mean, if you even want to count like Daredevil and Iron Fist and like all those guys, like that's
Yeah.
they already announced they're doing a new Daredevil film. I'm like, guys, I'm employed.
Yeah.
I have a
I
life.
mean,
How do you want me to watch all this?
honestly, that
I
might.
haven't seen Shang-Chi. I haven't seen Eternals. I haven't seen Thor 2. I haven't seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like, I don't got the time.
It makes me feel like, honestly, I think Marvel movies are starting to move more back towards all the nerds just being really into
Oh,
it.
no.
I think that they are moving away kind of from being that mainstream, and you have things like WandaVision and like the TV shows they have now, and there's I mean there's still movies coming out that are like I've heard are very good. I just don't really care to see them. But I think people who are really invested in superhero movies still get a lot out of them and really enjoy them.
I think so.
And that makes me happy, honestly. Like I hope they keep moving in that direction of kind of like working really close with the really diehard fans and getting what the really diehard fans want instead of just trying to make
Yeah.
like like another like Iron Man, because I feel like you already did it. You need another 10, 15, 20 years to start up this train again. I feel like almost because I just feel like it's been done, and the specific way you make those movies has been done, and you need something else now. But I also feel like
Yeah.
I don't know. Another thing I wanted to talk about too, and maybe we can finish our point about Marvel first, but I wanted to talk about streaming and how that has an impact, and just like movie theaters as a whole, and how that's kind of had an impact on the way movies are kind of made today.
Sure.
But do you have any last points about Marvel, Jordan, that you want to talk about?
I'm trying to think on Marvel. I mean, I think I've said most of them. I'm sure, like, I think, like, what you said, like, there's still some of those movies, like, I'd like to see. Like, I'm sure if I watched that Shang-Chi movie, I heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah.
I would probably watch it and be like, yeah, that was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I think it also kind of comes down to, like, the target demographic. I do have to realize it's like I may like comic book characters and superheroes, but maybe not as much as a lot of other people. Not as much as I
Oh, yeah.
thought I did.
No, yeah.
And I don't know. I think more of my interests. Again, I kind of go back to I want to watch more singular stories. I don't always necessarily care if it's like tied to a big universe.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I guess it's like I'm very mindful of when enough is enough. Like go out on the high note. I
Yeah.
don't think things need to be recycled to death and you got to interchange things. And now that they have this multiverse thing, it's like I just kind of feel like they can do anything and everything and nothing matters.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just might not be. It might not be for me, like in the long run. But that also doesn't mean that from time to time I won't jump in and check it out. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a time, at least with the MCU, at least for a long time, where I'm going to have that sort of lightning in a bottle moment like everybody else was having, where we started to organically follow these characters, starting with Iron Man, and
Yeah.
feel because it had never been done before. That's why it was different. Is because it was different at the time. It was special,
Hmm. Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
now it kind of feels like you're trying to kind of duplicate the same thing again. But that's where it's like you need an artist to come in and change it up, find
Yeah.
a new way, a new angle into it to make it different.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I mean,
That's
maybe
it.
they'll be able to do it, but I feel like just doing the same thing over again is not going to work. Like that's not going to work for me at least, but maybe it'll
No.
work for other people. Maybe I'm just a snob, but
All
okay.
right,
So
you
now,
had a point that you wanted to make about streaming, and then I think we'll start to. I said start to wind this down before, but actually wind this down because
yeah, I guess,
I'm starting to get hungry. I gotta eat some
yeah, me
food.
too, man. Okay. So I wanted to talk about just kind of the movie cinemas today and how it operates post COVID, because I think COVID really changed the game on how movies are made. It changed the game on how people watch movies, and it really changed the game on like where the money comes from and all this different stuff. And streaming services have kind of been the big part of that, where now you have movie theaters. And I feel like I'm glad movie theaters didn't die, but they did kind of die in a sense where what you see at the movie theaters today are things like those big blockbuster films like Jurassic World Part 7 or another Marvel movie or all these different things that like everybody knows the name recognition for and they can go see the movie. And it's kind of stuck with like I feel like you're not gonna get many like independent films at movie theaters these days because streaming has kind of taken over for that process. Where
Yeah.
streaming is so easy to do, and it's so easy to have an idea for a movie, get it picked up by someone like Netflix, like Hulu, whoever it may be, and be like, I like this guy's idea. This just like random dude that has a script. I like his idea. Let's throw $1 million and we'll try to make this movie. And
Yeah.
then they can just throw it on their streaming service, and then some people can just like watch it and then be like, oh guys, you should check out this cool new movie that was like completely different. So I feel like these really smaller budget movies don't really have a shot anymore at movie
It
theaters.
makes me sad.
Yeah, it's really sad because like I don't know, you just don't really see it unless you have like very like indie film movie theaters, which those are definitely around, but you're not going to get those in
Mhm.
like you need big cities and different things like that to get places like that. Or I mean, Iowa City has a artist theater, I know, and those are things that I think should be protected because
Yeah.
it is a different experience seeing something in the movie theater. But at the same time, it's just kind of changed course at this point where you're only really gonna get the big blockbusters in movie theaters, and those smaller budget films are just gonna go straight to streaming services because that's what people want. And like people don't want to commit to a movie that they have no idea what's going to happen and there wasn't a lot of money thrown into it. And it's kind of sad, but it also like I think it's sad in a sense where the going to a movie theater and seeing a movie that you haven't heard of the idea of it before, you've just heard like all you've heard of is the concept, and the concept is intriguing, and you go to the movie
Right.
theater and see that. It's kind of gone, honestly, and it's kind of been taken over by, I mean, the streaming services. But it is really good, I think, for those smaller movie makers to be able to get funding for movies because there's so much less risk that's involved with it.
Right.
So it is nice where you can just like I've watched quite a few independent films lately that have been great that just went straight to streaming services or just
Mhm.
went I had a few select showing at theaters, but then got bought out by Netflix.
Right.
And I it's good to see that, honestly, because it makes it so there's so many good movies coming out right now, and I just don't have time to watch all of them. But I
I
don't know.
wish.
What's your take on that, Jordan?
I mean, there's a lot of different thoughts I have on that. It's again, this is another subject that could easily take up an episode or two because there's
Yeah.
a lot to talk about.
Mhm.
COVID changed a lot of things. I'd say arguably for the worse when it comes to entertainment.
Yeah.
So there's a I don't want to sound like negative, but I will kind of get like my reservations out about things. One, and this is just purely, I think, me from like a lack of business understanding. The business model of streaming actually confuses me. I
Mhm.
don't see how there can be as much profit in certain senses to do things on a streaming platform versus people actually physically going and or buying the actual physical media, et cetera, et cetera. Especially when you have streaming services have this problem all the time where it's like one person has an account but 5 people are using it.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I do it too.
Yeah.
I've used my brother's Netflix before. I've done like the same thing with like Hulu and things like that, Disney
Mhm.
Plus. So business wise, like I just don't get where the money is, I guess.
Yeah.
So I need to educate myself more on that because obviously there must be the case for it being there because otherwise, you know, let's not forget these places that are putting out these movies, these entertainment, it's a business. Make
Yeah.
no mistake, money is going to drive things.
Oh yeah.
So I don't understand that. The other thing I'll say though too, on the plus side, it is nice to be able to see different stories get a different audience and be a little bit more accessible than someone that doesn't want to take the chance on seeing like a $20 million budget movie, you know,
Yeah.
over like a person going insane on an island and there's a robot. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
thought of like a weird indie movie.
Oh yeah.
But then here's the other thing I'll say that I have kind of pause and concern about is oversaturation.
Mhm.
I think kind of where the market's at right now, it's dangerous because now there's like an influx. There is so much content to choose from that
Yeah.
I think I don't know. Maybe I just kind of come off as a simpleton a little bit, but before streaming, it would be easier for me to be like, okay, here's what's in theaters. I can go check out the video store, and that's cool. But now it's like, dude, like I don't even know where to begin. There's Paramount Plus, there's Amazon, there's Hulu, there's Disney Plus. ESPN has its own streaming services, and they do original movies sometimes. Like there's, and they're only growing. Like there's Peacock, there's Peacock originals. There's, you know what I mean? I can keep going. So I worry about that side of it a little bit because then it's like, again, it's just going to go back to the quantity over quality. There's just going to be so much that I got to sift through, and I'm just like, ugh. I also, personally speaking, you know me, I'm a movie collector. I'm still a very big advocate for physical media. I still think there is a value to it. So it definitely cuts into that market and it hurts. But I also do get encouraged. I get encouragement from the people I actually see online because I'm a part of like some of those like different fan groups that are like, movie collectors, 4K enthusiasts, things like that. And there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of chatter on those things. So it does give me hope that there is still people out there like me that have an appreciation for this thing and that it hasn't all gone to, just being on a streamer platform and I'm just the old dinosaur that doesn't get it. So that's good. But I think the sad thing for myself, and I guess overall I don't feel as positive about it. I guess that's the thing. I'm not saying it has many positives. There are some. But I do think that while there are different opportunities that are afforded to a $20, $30 million movie, I just think mass audiences sometimes miss out on the fun of taking a chance on a movie that you don't know much about and actually going to watch it as a communal experience in a theater. I just think that there's something that you miss out on that'll never be the same when you're at home. And it makes me sad that that's the only thing basically that's going to get people out now is seeing just an established IP or something with a shitload of money thrown at it. Like we can't get people to go out and just genuinely take a chance and be like, hey, I saw this movie that like only a few people have like really heard about, but man, this thing's great. And then watch it grow and become big because of word of mouth.
No, I think that was, I was listening to a podcast talk about it, and that's what they were saying was a problem with like The Northman, where there's no standardized IP, and they tried to make this really big budget theater movie, but you also made it like an artsy film at the same time for people who like, are more interested in doing things like going to a movie theater and seeing an artsy movie like that. And just like the two different ways that movies can be created and like the idea of like just going to see a movie and committing to a movie and just like having no idea what it's about. Yeah, I just feel like you don't really see that today, which is, you're right, it is kind of sad. And like there were so many points you made in there that I want to talk about, but I know we don't have a lot of time.
No, I know.
When we do the next podcast where we don't talk about a movie and we could just talk about whatever, we can talk about this more then, I think.
That's actually a perfect way to end things because we'll give a little teaser for what's going to come on that. So I do have one more point, just small point to make on this. And this might be grandstanding a little bit. I might be reaching a little bit as far as a point.
He's on soapbox.
I actually say that a lot, dude. I go on rants. I'm good at it. There's a reason I have a podcast. I gotta get the thoughts out. Something else that I don't think a lot of people realize that I'm going to argue this. I'm going to argue and say that this is a negative of streaming. So you know how I talked about how I'm kind of old-fashioned, so to speak, and I like the theater experience. I like going to the theater. I like going with a group of friends, family, whoever, and sitting in the darkness and having the overpriced popcorn. I like it.
Yeah.
Something I think that kind of happens is the more and more that we get to a place where people are able to do things from the comfort of your couch, it's like the closer we're getting to the Wall-E days, where everybody's going to be overweight, they're going to be sitting on their ass in a hover floating chair with a screen in front of them, and they never actually have to go out and socialize. And that's something that I kind of, again, this is why I say it's a little bit grandstanding here, but if I can just comfortably like watch these movies on my couch, like let's say like I'm kind of into like a niche horror movie, because there's definitely a lot of like weird horror movie crowds out there online. And let's say like that's kind of my jam and I'm into it. Well, great. I can watch it and I can pause it at my leisure and kind of watch it as I go, but I don't really have to experience it like I would in the theater. And then more so when I want to talk with other people in the same community, I'm going to only do that like how we're doing right now. I'm going to do it either virtually or I'm going to do it through a forum and not even see the person's face. And my point behind all that is that in some way, I guess I just see it as a further deterioration of people being able to socialize with one another and learn how to actually share their passion for something in the same space and not do everything from the comfort of your couch. So I don't know. That's none of that maybe made sense. Maybe some of it did, but
No, I think it,
I just think that it's yet another step to get us to be further disconnected from each other because I don't have to physically see you to do any of this stuff.
yeah. No, yeah, that's true.
It's not the same, man. Like if I'm in the same room with you right now, and I like if we had watched Whiplash together,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that's
man.
the movie. That's the I just say that because that's the last movie I can recall you and I physically being in the same space and watching together. It's not the same.
No, yeah.
It's not all the same.
No, yeah. It's a completely different experience. And you're right that like there's an isolation that comes with streaming services and watching a movie at home and then going on Twitter and talking about this movie that you enjoyed seeing and everyone else should go
Yeah.
watch it or telling your friends about it over the phone or something like that. There
You need
is
to do things in person. Sorry, I think you
Yeah.
do.
No, yeah.
Um,
I agree.
I guess my last point, and then I'll tease the upcoming episode. But I don't know. I just think my last point is that like people need to work on socializing a little bit more. Technology is great. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not my point. That sounded like me being the old man yelling at the clown. I wasn't doing that. I had the point. So this is what happens when you're almost talking for 2 hours straight. Okay, this is it. My final point on everything is that I do hope that streaming and the theatrical experience can coexist.
Mhm.
I would like it to, but I don't want one to overpower the other. I guess. I mean, I would like theaters to come back, and I do think that theaters, in a way, they are coming back more. I mean, there have been other movies that have made some money at the theater besides just Top Gun 2. Like, there have been ones. Will it ever be like the days before COVID? Probably not. I mean,
No.
COVID changed the landscape. It's kind of the way it is, and people have to accept that.
I think it was moving in that direction, and then COVID was just
It
the final
was.
blow that just whacked it. But
I just hope that either if it's people in the community that have to organize it or something, but just if anybody's listening that likes to stream their stuff and they like to watch movies only from the comfort of your couch, more power to you. God bless. But just don't forget that there is a unique experience to be had and one that could potentially be a little bit more wholesome if you are actually spending time with people in person and watching movies. I don't care how you do it. Even if I guess if this is how it works for you, like if you're gonna watch a streamer, but you at least have like 5 guys coming over to watch it, then great.
Mhm.
Just make sure that you're doing it with people and don't always do it solo, because I just think that social component to movies is very, very important, and I don't want to see it die.
yeah. No,
Right.
yeah.
Done.